thanks Sundays for Dogs for sponsoring this video.
On today's video, I am exploring every single YouTuber that has a cookbook. I have a cookbook myself. I think my cookbook is fantastic. There's so many recipes in there. But today, it's not about my cookbook. It is about every other YouTuber. Because on this video, I reached out to every single one of them. They actually told me their favorite recipe on their cookbook. And today, we are trying them all. Enough talking, let's go. And we're gonna start off with my friend, Nick DiGiovanni. This book is called The Knife Drop. And here's Nick.
Guga, funny story. I'm sending you this video with no shirt on because I'm rushing to get to the airport to go to Italy. My favorite recipe from my cookbook is the gnocchi, speaking of Italy. I love it because it's a gnocchi experience that most people have never had before. Most of the time, it gets pretty rubbery, chewy, gummy. This gnocchi is light and fluffy and pillowy, but you still give it that nice sear at the end so you have a nice crust on it and it has that texture, that crunch. So I'm gonna go put a shirt on.
So for Nick's recipe, the first thing we need is some potatoes. After boiling them, you want to go ahead and take out the skin. Once that's done, you want to throw them in a bowl together with some flour and eggs. Mix everything together and combine it. Add flour as needed to create a dough. Once that's done, you want to go ahead and shape them. Of course, whichever shape you like, but these are the best for it. Then you want to run them through some flour and immediately cook them in boiling water. If you've never made gnocchi before, it's quite simple. You know they're fully cooked when they start floating on the top. But once that's done, you want to heat up some pan with olive oil and immediately start to fry them up. Like Nick says, this makes a huge difference as we're going to get two types of texture, especially the crispy one, which is the one I love the most. As once that's done, the only thing left to do is to plate it. Now here's where Nick takes things over the top. As for the sauce, you want to make some brown butter, which is basically cooking the butter until it's nicely brown, followed by an egg yolk, and to finish, a generous amount of Parmigiano Reggiano. Now that looks fantastic, and it sounds like it's a great recipe. Well, we're about to find out right now.
Oh man.
Okay.
It is nice and soft, but also crispy at the same time.
I can't even be tough on him.
Yeah, you can't be tough at all.
I like it, Nick. Good job. It's a thumbs up for me, man. You guys like?
Hell yeah.
Thumbs up for me too.
But can we all agree, no more Salt Bae, please?
Yeah, please.
Please.
Come on.
Next up, if you love history, you've came across this guy. Max has cooked some epic things on his channel, everybody, and inspired so many people to try things that you would never think about before.
Hey Guga, this is the Tasting History Cookbook with over 65 of my historic recipes, but my favorite is the Pulum Particum, or Parthian chicken from the ancient Roman Empire. It is filled with ingredients and flavors that you might have not ever had before. You might actually have trouble finding them, so I would love to see you cook it. Good luck.
And for Mac's recipe, the first thing we need is chicken, the whole bird. I went ahead and removed the thighs, and then I did something that we call airline chicken, which is basically this, the breast with the wings. It takes a little bit of work, but it is doable. Now my chicken is ready. Next up, to make a marinade. So into a bowl, I threw in some fish sauce, followed by wine, some celery leaves, salt, and black pepper. Now mix it up real good, and I immediately threw in all of my chicken. You want to make sure that the chicken is fully covered with this marinade. This is where a lot of the flavor will come from, but we're not done yet. First, some caraway seeds, and rub that throughout the whole chicken. Next, this ingredient, acefida. I made a whole video about it. I just combined it with some water, and it was now ready to be rubbed on the chicken. So onto a cooling rack, I placed all of my chicken. Then I added a generous amount of the acefida mix. This makes the chicken taste so good. I don't know how to explain it, but you'll find out shortly, because into a 350 degrees oven it goes. In the end, the chicken is now fully cooked. The only thing left to do is to plate it up. As once that was done, I save a little bit of that marinade that was previously made before adding the chicken. Just make sure to add a generous amount of it. And to finish it off, some black pepper. Now that is really tasting history. But with all these unique ingredients, is it as good as it looks?
First, give it a smell, because as soon as I smelled that, I was very, very interesting. Is that what we're going with?
This is so strange.
Oh my God.
Oh, Sebastian, what was that?
I don't know, this is not a very pleasant smell for a chicken.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Oh, it's actually not bad.
It tastes a lot better than it actually smells.
It's okay.
You smell it, it's not at all what it tastes like.
No, not at all. And it's like herby, earthy, terrible smell. It tastes a lot better than it smells. Look at that. You eating the chicken you like.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Now, this next YouTuber has some epic editing on his video, everybody. It's absolutely insane. I'm talking about You Suck at Cooking. But the big question is, which recipe is his favorite from the book?
Hey Guga, this is my book, You Suck at Cooking, by me, You Suck at Cooking. Whoops, let's just put that back. My book has phenomenal recipes like my gas station charcuterie plate, potato salad for the living, and my one ingredient diet ice pops. But what I want to see you make is my spicy peanut butter soup. This soup is so good I want to lick the page right now. So I'd love to see you take a crack at it if you're not afraid of a little peanut butter in non-sandwich form. Good luck.
Now this soup is not that hard to put it together, so let's give it a try and see how it goes. First, into a pan I threw in some oil, followed by red onions. Started to cook that a little bit. Then I added some tomato, carrots, broccoli, chickpeas, brown sugar, black pepper, salt, and chili oil. Now mix everything together. Then you want to add some veggie broth, followed by peanut butter. Mix that up real good until the soup becomes creamy. As in the end, all there's left to do is to plate it up. This is a creative soup, just like You Suck at Cooking, and I cannot wait to give it a go.
Oh, it's spicy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's very spicy.
This tastes like straight up peanut butter.
It is a flavor bomb, I'll tell you that right now. What do you think, Sebastian?
I'm looking at the ingredients. It looks like it has broccoli and like chickpeas, as you said, and probably some carrots. But I like to look at it. I don't want to eat it anymore. I'm good.
Thumbs up for me. You, Sebastian?
Yeah, so.
It's so good I already ran out of it, everybody. Wow. That was awesome. Next up, this guy might have the nicest mustache I've ever seen. Yes, I'm talking about Salt Hank, everybody.
It's called Salt Hank 5 napkin situation. Guga, you're getting the banh mi dip. This is seriously one of my favorite recipes from the book. I'm excited to see what you do with the pork belly in particular. I think there's a little chicharrone opportunity there, all right?
For this sandwich, unfortunately, I was not able to find a pork belly with skin on. However, this one will work just fine. And the first thing I like to do with pork belly is to score it. That way I can really render the fat, and most importantly, get a generous amount of seasoning on it. And for that, as recommended, we're gonna go with Old Bay seasoning. A generous amount. You wanna make sure that you get this pork belly fully coated with it. Once that's done, you wanna cook your pork belly on a cooling rack. Because remember, it will render a generous amount of fat, and you don't want things to catch on fire. Next up, we gotta pickle some vegetables. This one is pretty simple. Into a jar, you wanna throw in some daikon and carrots. Then into a pan, you wanna throw in some vinegar, followed by sugar and a pinch of salt. Mix that up real good and let everything dissolve. As soon as you have done so, you wanna pour that directly into the container. And that is how simple it is. Now to make a delicious dipping sauce. First, you wanna start off with some beef stock, followed by hoisin sauce, beef bouillon, and some fish sauce. Now whisk that together, and that is as simple as it gets. This wagyu will be perfect to go along with the sandwich. We're missing one important thing, and that would be a sauce. So into a food processor, I threw in some mayo, followed by garlic, Fresno pepper, and foie gras, which is duck liver. Now you want to blend everything together until it becomes a sauce. I mean, Salt Hank is not playing around here. This sandwich is gonna pack a huge amount of flavor. Talking about that, by this time the pork belly was fully cooked, and as I take slices, oh yes, this is what I'm talking about. Absolutely delicious. Now to put the sandwich together is pretty simple. You first want to add that mayo, followed by a generous amount of cucumbers, a few slices of peppers. Of course, we can't forget about the pork belly and the pickled vegetables we previously made. To make it fancy, I also added some green onions, followed by cilantro and sriracha to make it slightly spicy. Now that is a banh mi that I can eat all day, every day. I have a feeling that this one is going to be phenomenal, as it is one of the most fanciest banh mi I've ever made.
Oh, wow. Oh!
I can taste the spicy. I taste the refreshment of the cucumber and the fatty pork and the crunchy bread. It's great, but it's hot. I don't know what type of pepper, but man, my whole left side's on fire. It's bad, but it's good. It's good stuff, man. But the heat this is too much heat for me. No, this is a lot of heat.
Very flavorful, very delicious. Congratulations on your book, brother. It tastes amazing, everybody. Big thumbs up for me. You all right?
Boy, it's all over my lips. Bro, holy
Man
crap.
cannot take spice, everybody. Next up, we got Josh from Mythical Kitchen. Lately, he has done some crazy videos asking everyone's last meal. I absolutely love that series. But when I asked Josh his favorite recipe from this book, this is what he got to say.
Guga, since you love steak so much and since you are South American, I want you to cook my favorite recipe from the Mythical Cookbook, the Lomo Saltado cheesesteak.
And for that, he likes to use ribeye. And the first thing we gotta do is to cut it nice and thin. That way we can cook it quickly and introduce a lot lot of flavor through the seasoning. So after adding it to a bowl, I threw in some salt, followed by black pepper, garlic, cumin, and a generous amount of soy sauce. Now mix everything well and make sure everything is nicely coated, just like this. Now into a wok, you want to throw in some oil and immediately start stir frying the whole thing. The key here is to cook it nice and fast, and since the steaks were so thin, it will cook quite quickly. Now you want to throw in some onions, followed by tomatoes and red wine vinegar. Mix everything well and cook them for a little bit, as then you want to add some french fries, toss everything together. Make sure you do this step quickly as you want to keep the crispiness of the fries. Because to finish it up, you want to add some cheese, stir everything together and make sure that cheese gets nice and melty. As in the end, you throw in some cilantro, toss it a little bit more, and all there's left to do is to add that to a bun. A nice fluffy bun. As in the end, you are left with this, a lomo saltado cheesesteak. I have a feeling this one is going to be real good.
I mean, come on. Whoa!
Wow. Wow.
Normally I eat lomo saltado with some rice, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you put it on 2 pieces of bun, wow. Very, very flavorful. What do you think,
It's an
Sebastian?
instant thumbs up for me.
Instant, huh? Wow. Josh, we gotta cook together. I'm either waiting for you or I'm gonna go see you either way. Love the recipe, love the book, and I wanna challenge you, Rhett and Lake, for a cookout. Come on, that would be so much fun.
I want to join.
Very delicious, good job. Thumbs up for me.
Mythical thumbs up.
Next up, we got my friend Albert. Maybe one of the most funniest guy I know.
Guga Man, this is my book. I love all recipes here, but my favorite one is California burrito.
The first thing we gotta do is to marinate some meat. And since he chose skirt steak, that's a great selection. So after throwing it in my marinating container, I added some orange juice, followed by lime juice, white vinegar, olive oil, some salt, garlic, black pepper, cilantro, and some jalapeno for extra flavor. Now you want to toss them around to ensure they're nicely coated, as then you want to cover it up and let it marinate in your refrigerator for as long as you can. As now we gotta make some sauces. And to start off, we're gonna make this. So into a bowl, I threw in some avocado, followed by tomatoes, onions, cilantro, black pepper, and smash the whole thing up. Because in the end, check it out, you are left with this, guacamole. But there's more. We gotta make a delicious red sauce. This one is quite simple though. Into a blender, you wanna throw in some tomatoes, white onions, garlic, guajillo chiles, cumin, paprika, salt, pepper, beef broth, and heavy cream. Now blend everything on high, and there is one of the most delicious sauce you can make. And of course, we have to make a salsa. Surprisingly, this one is also quite simple. As into a pesto or mortar, you wanna throw in some garlic, cumin, lime juice, salt, cilantro, and some charred up tomatoes and onions. Now you want to smash that down on the pesto and mortar, and that's the salsa. Quite simple. As now you want to go ahead and cook the steaks. You can definitely do this on the grill, but inside in a skillet will work just fine. As in the end, you should be left with a nice juicy steak. The only thing left to do now is to assemble. So you first get that tortilla, followed by guacamole, the beautiful steak, a generous amount of the salsa, some sour cream, and a few french fries. Now fold everything together, make sure to toast that tortilla, and to serve it, don't forget to wrap it in aluminum foil. Because in the end, you are left with this, an incredible flavorful burrito. But don't forget the sauce. That is where this gets taken to a whole nother level.
Oh wow, it's creamy. The fries, I mean, it does add a little bit of a texture, but you know fries are kind of soft. But this is good.
I just love this sauce here. I'm totally addicted. This sauce is incredible. And it's not spicy. What do you think, Sebastian?
The guac, the steak, the fries, everything together, it's so good.
It's very delicious. Highly recommend you guys giving it a try. Fantastic, and congratulations on the book. Everything looked good so far, and before we try the next one, I want to thank today's sponsor, Sunday for Dogs. This is Cookie, and she thinks she's the main character. She's active, young, and a beauty. This is Chica, and she's actually the main character, my senior citizen, and the one that puts Cookie in check. They are completely different, but one thing that they have in common is that they love Sunday for Dogs. They're both long-haired dogs, and there's nothing I hate more when they get dirty with wet foods. And I don't want to give them any unappetizing kibble. I want them to eat something that is good for them, and I will actually not be afraid of eating it myself. Sundays for Dogs is the perfect food for them. It is entirely human-grade ingredients, so yeah, I could take a bite of it if I run out of steaks. It is 90% meat and 10% superfoods with no synthetics or preservatives. It is air dry, so it's similar to beef jerky. They even love it as a treat and will happily give you a trick in an exchange for a piece of Sundays. So go to sundaysfordogs.com/Guga or use code Guga at checkout to get 50% off your first order of Sundays. Thank you, Sunday for Dogs, for sponsoring this video and keeping my pups happy and healthy. Now, let's get right back to it. Next up, from the land down under, I'm talking about Andy, and his cookbook is called Andy Cooks, the Cookbook. When I reached out to Andy, he picked a recipe that I was quite surprised.
G'day Guga bro, this is my cookbook, Andy Cooks the Cookbook. It's been out for over a year now and I'm super proud of it. This is my recipe for a Kiwi classic, the steak and cheese pie, and I'd love to see you make this dish as it's a super meaty one and I think it's right up your alley.
To start off, we gotta have the meats. And I'm gonna be using picanha. We all know the queen is better than anything else. So I went ahead and started slicing it. The thing here is to get in nice little small cubes. Once that's done, I went ahead and seasoned it with salt, black pepper, and some all-purpose flour. You see, the flour will do two things. Help get a nice crust, and will also thicken up the sauce inside the pie. The next thing to do is to get it seared. So for that, into a pan I threw in some oil, heated it up, and inside goes my meat. We want to get that nice golden brown crust going over here. This produces an incredible flavor and it's a must. Once that's done, I quickly removed it from the pan and check out what's left on the bottom, the fond. Don't let that go to waste. To deglaze it, I threw in some onions, carrots, celery, and garlic. And of course, 2 bay leaves. You want to go ahead and mix this up and start deglazing the pan. Keep it under medium heat. Then once you got a nice color in the veggies, go ahead and throw the picanha back in. Stir and combine all the ingredients together. As then you want to add in some Worcestershire sauce, followed by beef broth. Now go ahead and cover it up and keep it under low heat. You want to let it simmer for at least 1 hour. As in the end, check it out. This is what you're left with. To finish it up, you want to add some cornstarch slurry and mix everything together. As in the end, you're going to be left with a nice rich filling. But we're not done yet, as now you want to throw it into a pie crust, followed by some cheddar cheese, cover the whole thing up with some puff pastry, cut out the excess, make sure to cut the dough so it does not puff up on you. As now you want to add some egg wash, and into a 350 degrees oven it goes. As after about 30 minutes, check it out. You are left with a real treat. The only thing left to do now is to cut a piece and serve. And let me tell you something, get ready for it, because if you love meat, you're gonna really enjoy this one.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't crazy about the ketchup,
It worked.
but it works. It brings some acidity and sweetness.
Which kind of makes it a little bit complete. I feel like it does work. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a fan.
It's a lot better than vegetable pie.
Oh, come on now. Why would you even say that?
Andy, we are waiting for you here, brother. We gotta cook something together. This next guy is a cooking OG just like me, and I'm talking about Sam the cooking guy. Now, when I reached out to Sam, he knows what I'm all about. We're all about meat and not vegetables.
Hey Guga, we know you can cook a steak, but how about pork? I want you to make something out of Sam the cooking guy in the Holy Grail. It's the char siu. Chinese barbecue pork, and damn is it good.
To make Sam's recipe, the first thing you need is pork. I'm using boneless pork shoulder, and for char siu, we need a sauce. Into a bowl, you want to throw in some brown sugar, followed by 5 spice, white pepper, garlic, ketchup, hoisin sauce, honey, Shaoxing wine, and soy sauce. Now mix everything well to combine, and go ahead and place your pork right in there. Now the key here is to let it marinate, especially if you do it overnight. As once it's done, you want to go ahead and set it down on a cooling rack, and outside to the grill we go. Now here's the key. With char siu, you really want to get some char. If not, it's not going to be the same. That little char is a must, because once you have achieved the char that you're happy with, you want to go ahead and cook the pork nice and slow in indirect heat. And as you're doing so, you want to baste it with the remaining marinade. Once the pork is fully cooked, check it out. This is what you're left with. I just really wish you can smell it. It is phenomenal. To serve it, you want some spicy mustard. And I'll tell you one thing, friends, this is delicious and quite easy to make.
Oh, wow.
Good. Perfectly sweet.
Without the sweet and the spicy, that's one of my favorite combos. Can't go wrong.
It is phenomenal. Great job. Big thumbs up for me. This next guy loves sandwiches as much as I love picanha. I'm talking about my brother, Owen. Inside of this book, there are so many wonderful recipes.
What's good, Guga? We all know you're the king of steaks and crazy experiments. Well, today, I want to see you tackle one of the recipes from my cookbook, Stack, The Art of the Perfect Sandwich. And one of my all-time favorite recipes is the one on the cover, skirt steak, caramelized onions, Gruyere cheese, garlic aioli on a nice toasted baguette. I would love to see your take on it. Don't mess this up.
And the most important ingredient on a steak sandwich is the steak. For this recipe, he chose the skirt steak, which I love. I kept the seasoning real simple with a good amount of salt, followed by freshly ground black pepper and garlic powder. Once that was done, I set it aside. As next, I needed to caramelize some onions. So after dicing them nice and thin, I threw it into a pan to cook them nice and and slow. I lightly seasoned them with salt and pepper and kept cooking the whole thing until it got completely caramelized. We all know caramelized onions are fantastic on a sandwich, and this is going to work out great. Next, to make a delicious sauce. This one is quite simple. Into a bowl I threw in some mayo, followed by garlic and Dijon mustard. Now you want to mix everything well and combine these ingredients, and there you have it. It's that simple. Now to cook the steak. I first laid down some oil into our cast iron skillet and started to cook it. We want to cook this under high heat so that we don't overcook it, because we all know medium rare is best. But if there's one steak that you can cook a little bit more, it's this one, and it is perfect for a sandwich, because once it's fully cooked, the most important part here is to cut it against the grain. If you do so, it's going to be a nice and tender bite, and as you can see, this one turned out super juicy. Next might be one of the most important ingredients, and that would be the bread. I chose an artisan bread. Remember, 50% of your sandwich is the bread, so if you have a good bread, you're halfway there. So to build the sandwich is pretty simple. I first lay down a generous amount of the mayo, followed by some Gruyere cheese, a generous amount of the steak, and for some reason Owen really loves arugula, but I am not putting that on the sandwich. And of course, to finish it off, some more bread with the sauce. Now I'll tell you one thing, this looks like a delicious sandwich. Oh, you better believe it, friends.
Oh man.
What I feel immediately is that garlic aioli. What do you feel right away?
That crunchy bread, but a little bit of caramelized onion, so it was a little sweet, and then the steak was amazing.
The steak's so good. One of the first things that I learned from Owen is that how important the bread is, everybody. I never really pay so much attention on the breaded sandwich, but it makes sense because the bread is more than 50% of the actual sandwich. You know what I mean? Well, I like it, Owen. Nice job.
I like it too.
Good.
Hey, Guga. You know I don't have a cookbook, I have a life book. You know I don't need no cookbook, because you know why? I'm the chef. And you know what the chef's gonna do? The chef's gonna go do what those cookbook guys don't do and go into the gym. Cookbook coming soon. See you later.
The next one, somebody I admire quite a bit, because if you've been watching YouTube for a while, you know Kenji Lopez Out. I've learned a lot from him, and his book is called The Walk. When I reached out to Kenji, he really wanted me to sweat on this video, because some of the ingredients are impossible to find.
Hey Guga, my friend, how's it going? This is Kenji Lopez Alt. I would love to see you make the orange beef out of my book. It's sort of a hybrid between a Chinese American version and a real traditional Chinese version. I don't know if you can make it. It's a little bit complicated, but I'd love to see you do it.
Now for Kenji's recipe, it might be one of the most extensive recipe. And of course, everything starts off with a wok. Then I threw in some oil, followed by Sichuan peppercorn. You want to quickly cook them without burning. As soon as it starts smoking, take them out. And that's because all we're trying to do is to infuse the flavor of the Sichuan into the oil. Once that's done, you want to add some ginger and garlic and cook that up for a bit. Then you want to add a cinnamon stick, followed by star anise and a few chili peppers. Stir it and cook everything for a bit. Then you want to add some sesame oil, followed by dark soy sauce, chanpi, sugar, and white vinegar. Now stir everything together and combine. Make sure to keep it under low heat, as then you want to add some chicken stock. Go ahead and bring the whole thing to a simmer. You want to let it simmer for about 1 minute. And as that's going, you want to combine some cornstarch and soy sauce. Then go ahead and add that in. Mix it and let it come to a simmer, because now we gotta prepare our beef. And for that, into a bowl you want to throw in some Shaoxing wine, followed by vodka, light soy sauce, 1 egg, baking soda, and cornstarch. Whisk it all well and combine these ingredients together. As then you want to throw in your beef. Make sure to slice it nice and thin, but not too thin. I'm using slices of picanha. Once everything is nicely coated, you want to let it marinate for at least 30 minutes. As next, into a bowl you want to throw in some cornstarch, followed by all-purpose flour, baking powder, and salt. Mix that up real good, and it's time to bread the beef. That is pretty simple, as you already know. As once that's done, make sure to remove any of the excess, because you want to go ahead and deep fry the whole thing, making sure to get a nice beautiful crust, as we want this thing to be nice and crispy. Once everything is fully fried, go ahead and toss it into the sauce, combining everything together. As now all there's left to do is to go ahead and plate the whole thing up, and we're left with an incredible dish, and hopefully it's going to be fantastic. And this is Kenji's recipe.
Oh wow. That is extremely flavorful, everybody. It's unlike any other thing I ever had. What do you guys think?
This is delicious. A little bit sweet, a little bit spicy, got some salt to it.
With all that flavor there, I can taste that citrus.
Yeah, it has like a little orange hint.
A little zest.
Yeah, combine it with some rice, that's gonna be on a whole nother level. Now we have a YouTuber that I'm a huge fan of. I hope to meet him someday, hopefully soon, because he does not live in the US. I'm talking about Andong. Obviously I haven't met him yet, but I was looking forward to find out his favorite recipe from this book.
Hey Guga, this is Andong and I have a little bit of a special request for you. I've been a huge fan of your YouTube videos for many years at this point. I learned a lot, and there's something I've always been wondering about, which is what would Guga think of a German-style chicken doner kebab? It is the quintessential food of my hometown, Berlin. That one has gotta be my favorite for, you know, mostly nostalgic reasons. So, with that said, I would say the challenge is on. Just do me one favor, please. Don't call it doner, it's called döner.
So the first thing we need for this recipe is our chicken thighs. As you can see, these are boneless. So then I went ahead and threw them into a bowl, followed by mayo, paprika, chili flakes, garlic powder, salt, sugar, thyme, basil, marjoram, and rosemary. Now rub that real good and combine everything together. As next, you want to lay that down on a parchment paper on a baking sheet. And as you're doing so, don't clean your bowl. As in there, you want to throw in some carrots, eggplant, potatoes, followed by soy sauce, and a tiny bit of salt. Mix that up real good until everything is fully coated, and add that right on top of the chicken. Now you want to spread that really good, and into a 350 degrees oven it goes. Once it's fully cooked, you want to go ahead and place it on a cutting board, chop everything up in nice tiny bites. Then you want to grab some flatbread, where for this I'm using none. So first I lay down a generous amount of ranch, followed by some lettuce, tomatoes, red onions, cucumbers, a tiny bit of cabbage, and of course that wonderful chicken, together with all the vegetables. Because I'll tell you one thing, this thing smells phenomenal, absolutely incredible, and I cannot wait to find out how it's gonna taste. My friend and done. I truly hope I did its justice.
Oh, wow, that is amazing. It's a little spicy, but it's refreshing with the cucumbers in here. There's potato, and that sauce is to die for.
This is probably the first time that the flavor of the cucumber is actually like, I think this works pretty well because of the spice. With the cucumber, I know it sounds really weird, but it works.
What's the most interesting thing for me is the flavor of the chicken. That chicken is so flavored with all these herbs and spices. Wow, I like it. Good job, brother. Let me know in the comments down below if I missed any YouTuber that has a cookbook, everybody, because I can tell you one thing. I reached out to all of them. Some did not reply. Gordon Ramsay, when you needed me to break a world record, I was there, Gordon. Put it down in the comments down below who I missed, because if you love this video, we might make part 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, be sure to subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below which book you have and which one you want to buy the most. See you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.